everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It's absolutely lovely to meet you all. My name's Harri Whitmarsh. I'm the head of product here at NWS. So basically, I manage the product team. It's an absolute pleasure to talk you through some of our new and exciting trips that we've just launched in Mexico. I've been lucky enough to view whales in multiple locations around the world. I'm a bit of a whale nut. Actually been able to do them even since I joined NWS. So I've dived with the humpbacks in the Cook Islands since I've been here, and I've experienced the orcas in Norway several times. So it was absolutely fantastic to get over to Mexico and understand this product and how it works, and if it was going to be a good fit for our guests. And I felt like it was. I've recently returned from my second visit to the Sea of Cortez. And today I will talk about three different trips that we are launching in that region. So to get started, here we go, please bear with me. So see, it's whale watching journeys in Baja. We've launched them this February. I was out there at the very end of January, which is the very beginning of the season, for our San Ignacio trip, which I'll talk you through. It's let me just get started with all three. So like I said, I'm Harri, the head of product. The three different trips are, I can still hear people joining, so that's really good. There's three different trips that we are going to be launching in this region. The most well known is the grey whales of San Ignacio. This is a 3-night, 4-day trip. We do often do extensions. We can do extensions as well, so you can spend a longer period of time there as well. This is a February to April departure, and this is basically when all of the grey whales are migrating into the region. Up to, in the peak of the season, there can be up to 1,000 whales moving in and out of this lagoon. So it's, an absolute hotbed of activity. It's fantastic. So an encounter of a grey whale is quite unique. They're incredibly curious. You basically spend each day out on the water in a small panga, which you can see in that bottom right-hand corner. These pangas take up to about 6 to 8 people at a time. You go out on 2 whale excursions in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. And you're basically on the lagoon looking out for these amazing grey whales. I mean, they find you pretty quickly. It's one of the smaller lagoons. There's 3 in the region. And they, like I said, there's up to 1,000 that are entering. There's safe zones where the whales have complete freedom. They're not always restricted to be where people are. So there's parts of the lagoon which are completely reserved for mothers and babies. But then in the center is where 16 boats throughout the season can come in at a time. There'll only ever be 2 pangas on a whale at a time. It doesn't feel invasive at all, which was isn't often a concern with any whale watching experience. You're giving them the space, and they actually are coming over to you and are incredibly curious and love to check you out. So essentially, the way that the itinerary works is that you start in Cabo. You often would spend a pre-night just because of flights. I actually flew via Mexico City, which was amazing and really good fun, and then on to Cabo. Obviously, there's loads of different properties that are available there that we can sort out for you. There's one right next to the dive center, which makes things very simple, or you can spend your time on a beach property. You then will fly on a private charter up to San Ignacio Lagoon. This charter is included in the price. And the flight's about 1 hour and 45 minutes. You arrive in San Ignacio Lagoon, and you're taken to your luxury tented camp. Now, the tents are pretty impressive. They're very large. They have hot running water, they have electricity, and they have compost loos. The camps are not permanent. They have to be removed during the end of the season. So they've done a pretty amazing setup based on the fact that they have to get in and out at the same time. So each camp will have, so there's basically 6 to 12 tents in a row, and they will share a mess tent. And then there is also a bar. And in the evening, you'll have these fantastic lectures from the marine biologists that are on site. So like I said, each day you'll go out on a panga that you can see on the bottom right-hand corner again, and you'll go in search of these incredible grey whales. And they are really very curious. They'll come right up to the boat. and some occasions even nudge it to get your attention, which is quite a bizarre scenario to see. I have been both in January at the very beginning of the season, so the whales were slowly kind of filtering in, and I've also been there in April when the whales are filtering out. So a lot less people on the water, but kind of the end of February is like when there's a lot of action happening. There's whales the entire season, but obviously in the peak of it, there's whales everywhere. But it also means that the camps are more busy. There's only 8 camps in the entire region, and we believe that we are working with the best possible one. That I've checked out a couple, and we're working with the best possible camp that there is. All of their guides are top marine biologists. They're fantastic, and you really grow to understand the experience and how it's not invasive, how curious these whales are. You're getting mothers with their babies, and they're pushing the babies towards the boat so they can be near you. It's pretty impressive. I'm getting some questions that I will answer at the bit, but for now I can see one. There are photos of the tented camp facilities, not in this presentation, but we can follow up with those images for you, Jane. But yeah, they're fantastic. They're really spacious. You have your own deck. There's a campfire, so you can be under the stars at night, which are absolutely spectacular. Obviously, all of your meals are included. And there's also the bar, and they do things like fresh oysters that have been pulled out of the lagoon that day, or ceviche, or chips and dip. It's really, really, really good vibe in camp, and you have a lecture each evening before dinner from one of the marine biologists. So it's a really fantastic experience. But yes, like I said, this is 3 nights, 4 days, and we can extend that for you. I would say that majority of people are quite happy with that duration, but there are enthusiasts that want to spend double the amount of time or even triple. So other things to do in the area, if you did opt to not go whale watching at every opportunity, is there are things like there's bikes, and there's kayaks, and there's paddleboards, so you can go out and relax, not on the lagoon, but on the coastal area, which is just before the lagoon. There's also a turtle conservation project there that's been interesting. You can go out and learn more about the oyster industry in the area. So there's a couple of other activities you can do. Some people just loved walking around and just exploring the region. So like I said, that's the logistics involved there. So the second trip that we've launched is the Orcas Mobula Ray adventure. This is after the grey whale season, starting from April to July. This is a complete liveaboard experience, which is a 7-night, 8-day adventure. And this is going in search of the large aggregations of the Mobula Rays, which really come together at that time of year based on the algae that attracts the large numbers. And because of these huge, massive aggregations of the mobulas, which is absolutely spectacular, the orcas turn up because that is their food. So it's quite, a bit of a feeding frenzy, and other animals are around as well. And this is basically a snorkeling trip, looking for both of these, amazing animals. There's other chances of seeing other whales while you're living aboard the Gallant Lady, which is the ship that we use for this trip. And it's a fantastic trip with absolutely loads of different possibilities of seeing blue whales, sperm whales, and humpback whales. So to give you an idea of the logistics, you again start in Cabo San Lucas. You take a transfer to La Paz, which is your launch point, and that's about a 2-hour drive. Actually, on that drive, I saw obviously earlier in the season, but I saw about 14 whales breaching just on that car drive, which was crazy. And then you're getting aboard the ship, which is called the Gallant Lady, which takes 12 passengers, and you are spending those 7 days in the Sea of Cortez in search of the orcas. Now, obviously, it's never 100% guaranteed. Traditionally, they're having about a 70% chance of these orca sightings every year. The behavior is quite different to the orcas that you'd view in Norway, but we can go into that a little bit later if that is something people would like to talk about. But yeah, it's basically this really incredible experience to live aboard and see orcas with a totally different behavior, which is fantastic. Obviously, the crew are really, really strong. The boat is really, really impressive. There's amazing food on the ship. Really good fun crew, and yeah, only 12 passengers, which is fantastic. So finally, we have the Ultimate Wales in Mexico, which is our third trip that we're launching. This is from January to April. So again, and the same season as the Grey Whale itinerary. This is a combination of the two experiences in a sense. So this is a one-night stay in La Paz, a three-night stay aboard the Gallant Lady ship, and then a three-night stay at the San Ignacio camp where the Grey Whale experience takes place. They've tried to basically pull in all the absolute ultimate highlights of this region in a very small itinerary, which is great. So, for example, just to talk you through it, you arrive in Cabo again. Let me get you down here. You arrive in Cabo again. That day, they actually take you out humpback viewing off Cabo, which is crazy because you're in the harbour with loads of, loads and loads of ships. And then you exit, and I mean, we do a 4 hour trip on this one to look for the humpbacks, and the activity is incredible. They're just everywhere, breaching everywhere. We saw a few grey whales there as well at that time, but it's really, really humpback country, and that's what they're looking out for. There's dolphins everywhere as well. You return from the humpback experience, and then you make that transfer to La Paz, where you spend a night. And again, that's that 2 hour transfer with all the, along the coastline, seeing whales breaching on the journey. After your night in La Paz, early morning, you'll be taken out and you'll go snorkeling with whale sharks, which is in a lagoon off La Paz. And then after that activity, you'll be taken to go snorkeling with the resident sea lion colony. So it's really trying to cover the highlights in that region. Um, that evening, you'll jump aboard the Gallant Lady and you will start heading up to Loreto. And Loreto is primarily famous for its blue whale sightings. At this time of year, there's a lot of mother and calf sightings, which is fantastic. We did see blue whale, and it was only in a short space of time, so that was fantastic. And you're in a rib when you're looking for them, so they are absolutely ginormous. But there's also chances of seeing other whale species. So those huge pods of resident sperm whale. The orcas may be around, but they're less likely at that time of year. So it's absolutely fantastic. So you're spending 3 nights on the Gallant Lady, going out on a rib in search of whales in the morning and in the afternoon. Again, fantastic crew like you would have for the orcas trip. And then you're going to travel back to La Paz, where you'll jump aboard the private charter and you'll fly up to San Ignacio Lagoon and you'll have that San Ignacio grey whale experience. So it's kind of combining the best of both worlds, which is great. And you just see so many different whale species. It's pretty mind-blowing, which is great. So yeah, I mean, they're the 3 trips that we are launching. Obviously, we are really, really, really excited about the Mexico experience and what we can do there. Our primary focus is on these 3 trips. However, we've got a very small portfolio in Mexico City, so we can assist with anyone that's coming via Mexico City and wants to, tour that region. Obviously, it's incredible, great restaurants, lovely cultural activities. If you come at the right time of year, which is, again is between February and April, it's the monarch butterfly migration. So you could actually combine it to do monarch butterflies and grey whales, which is very, very cool itinerary, to be honest. And I think that will be, something that we'll hopefully be selling quite a lot of. And we have, different versions of that monarch butterfly thing we can do. We can do it as a group trip, or we can even do it as a private trip just from Mexico City. It's only a 2 hour transfer away to the first site where it can be visible. We also have added a small portfolio in Cabo, so people can extend their beach time if they want some relaxation after they've done the whale watching trip as well. So we've tried to really focus on those 3 trips, but also pad them out so people can spend longer in the region, especially if they're traveling from the UK or somewhere over in Europe. So if there are questions, and I think there are a few, sorry, please bear with me when I try and read what's here. So yeah, so I can see that there are options to combine these trips with other destinations. Yeah, like I mentioned, Mexico City and Cabo Cabo Beach is a really, really fantastic option here. Hold on, sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can read them all because there's so many, which is great. There's been a question about the minimal age. I think that's a great question. So based on my time there, I would say that the most appropriate age is 15. And that's certainly the limitation with being aboard the Gallant Lady. So like I said, Gallant Lady is a 12 passenger ship, so it's lovely and small. And the rooms are really spacious, really large bathrooms. But again, you're going to be in a rib and bouncing around. So I just think 15 is the appropriate age. And then at San Ignacio, there again, it's 15 in the luxury camp. If there is flexibility to take over a particular area of the camp if there are younger children, so you would contact our specialist and we can talk you through what your options are there. Again, I would say that because you are in the smaller boat, that it's probably, probably 10, 9, 10 would probably be the appropriate age there. But it's definitely up for have a conversation with our team and see what we can do for you. Another question is who would this suit? I mean, any wildlife enthusiast, but especially if you're mad about whales. That ultimate whale itinerary, I mean, the fact that you're just going to see so many different species and really, check them off your list is absolutely fantastic. Other marine life there is also great. There's chances of seeing turtles, there's chances of seeing dolphins. So it's fantastic. I've been asked what the baggage allowance is for the trip with the Gallant Lady. So the baggage allowance. So sorry, there's a few things popping up on my screen. So the baggage allowance aboard the Gallant Lady, there isn't an allowance at all. It's absolutely fine. But if you're doing Ultimate Wales, and or San Ignacio, just the actual San Ignacio portion to see the grey whales, there's a small baggage allowance of 10 kilograms. But they have an amazing team in Cabo and in La Paz where you can store your luggage. You put it in a small holdall, put it on board and aboard the plane and take it with you. And then you're not going to need it for a huge, it's only 3 nights. If you're staying there longer, then obviously there's a laundry service as well that you can take advantage of. But they can store all of your luggage in the head office, which is fantastic. And you just really don't need many things. Most of the layers are things like thermals, and you'll end up, starting loads of layers and stripping them off throughout the day. They also supply you only at the San Ignacio grey whale camp portion. They give you welly boots, and they also give you a windbreaker. So that's actually a bit of a peace of mind. So you don't have to worry about bringing all that with you. Another question I've been asked is you do not go into the water with the grey whales, right? Yep, that is correct. You don't go in the water with grey whales. The only things that you can go in the water with on these trips is on the ultimate whales is the whale sharks and the sea lions, which is great and incredibly interactive, as I'm sure you can imagine. And then with the orcas, it's obviously orcas and mobulas that you can go in the water with. And then on the San Ignacio grey whale experience portion, you do not go in the water with them at all. It is, So that's another question I've been asked here is how would this compare with the Norway Orca trip that you've done? That's fantastic. You've done one of our trips with us already. Great. So I've done the Orca Norway trip on several different occasions at different parts of the season. So I think I have a fairly good grasp of the differences. I'd say obviously it's nice and warm instead of being cold, which is definitely a highlight. But in addition, the orca behavior is quite different. Orcas feed on herring in Norway, and obviously they're feeding on a lot larger species in Mexico. The team are incredibly knowledgeable in terms of when they let you go in the water. They've been reading these whales for a long time, these orcas for a long time. So, out in Mexico, they are feeding off the larger species. The mobulas during that part of the year is their key focus. And obviously there's just a huge abundance of them. So they're kind of picking them off from the edge, which is obviously quite sad to watch, but it also really, really interesting. But yeah, they hunt other whale species and things like that in the area as well. So that would be a very, very different thing to witness versus the feeding on the herring and the bait balls that you would have witnessed in Norway. And obviously it's lovely to sit out just in a swimsuit and a sarong on the boat instead of being all wrapped up in layers, which is another thing to think about. I'm just seeing if I can read any of the other questions here. bear with me. There's all kinds of things. But I think, yeah, okay, what else have we got here? Um, there was a mention that you see, yes. Okay, so there's been a question here about the safety with the whales. You are wearing, so at all times you are when you're in the on a rib with on a rib on ultimate whales looking for the blue whales. And when you're on a panga boat on the San Ignacio portion, you're always wearing your a life jacket. They're very on it in terms of safety. They're very, very organized. The team are fantastic and will always make you feel very safe. So that's not a thing of concern at all. What else do we have here? So in terms of traveling outside of these dates, obviously the grey whale pit portion is is a small season. Like I mentioned, I've been there at the mid-January and mid-April. I absolutely loved going at those times of year because there were less boats on the water. As I mentioned, there's max um, 16 boats allowed in the lagoon at any one time. So it's never really like hectic with loads of boats everywhere. But when I was there in April, there was 3 boats on the water. And when I was there just now, there was 6 boats on the water. So again, that's another experience to consider. We had less whales than we would in the peak season, but we still had whales and whale interactions, which was fantastic. But yeah, you're very limited to January to April for the grey whale experience. And then obviously, if you're looking to have the Mobula and Orca experience, that is from April to August, purely because that's when all the Mobulas are kind of banding together, and that brings the Orcas in, obviously. I think that is everything that we have time for in the questions. Obviously, I'm not the one to call. I am the product person here, so I'm a bit hidden behind the scenes. But we have our lovely Talia and Lou here that are very experienced from a whale watching perspective anyway. I know Talia's done a number of our whale watching trips. But they've had, full briefing from me, full training from me. They're really excited to take your calls and start chatting about Mexico. So yes, I'm always here to step in, but Talia and Lou are going to be your absolute go-tos. So I think that is everything that we have time for today. But I'm really, really glad that everyone turned up today. If you want to call us and ask me any other questions, I'm absolutely happy to. I love it. I love talking about these amazing experiences and especially Wales. Just I can talk about Wales all day. So please do get in touch if you have any additional questions that you'd like me to cover, and I'll do my best to help. All right. Well, it was lovely to have you all here today, and I'll speak to you all soon. Okay. Bye.